Hi all, I just wanted to go ahead and make a quick consolidated tutorial for some people who might be more interested just in doing just the modeling side of things and just how to prep models just so they can be directly imported to the game. So there's a lot less work for people who have to script them. So yeah, so assuming that you have SEUT installed properly and Blender 2.9, let's go ahead and get this party started. So I'm just going to go ahead and start a quick fix weapon first. So let's go ahead and start with this. Let's delete this hierarchy. Yeah, let's go ahead and go up here. Let's create a, what do you call it? Example fixed. And let's go in here and fixed. Okay, so we got a Blender file here. And then you'll notice here that once you have SEUT set up, you have a bunch of different things. So all these collections are essentially different things that go into the model. So main is the main model. Collision is essentially meshes that define the collision area of your model. Build state 1, build state 2, build state 3. Level of detail 1, level of LOD 2, LOD 3. Essentially the LODs are just so that way if you back away you can have a lot less triangles for the model. And then of course you have build state LOD, which only has one. Another thing to note is that if you go into your end tab, you can notice that there's an SEUT thing here, and there's a bunch of things that go on here. So the subtype ID is what names is going to be rendered out as. So I'm just going to call this example fixed. Great. So so once we have that, let's take a look down here. So we can switch between large and small scale, which just changes it in here. We can recreate collections here, just in case we deleted anything and something got weird. We can also turn on the bounding box. This allows us to define the size of the bounding box. Yeah. We have mirroring mode, which allows us to do mirroring. We have mount point mode, which just allows us to set mount points, but we don't have anything here, so you can't really see anything. Yeah, just nothing to mount it to. Icon render mode allows you to render something, render an icon in particular for the model. It makes everything look the nice default blue. You can export, so you can choose the path of exporting. Do you want to export SBC? Do you want to delete temp files and export as large or small? You can export both simultaneously. For the purpose of this, we'll just go ahead and do only large for now. And then you can also set the distances for LODs. So here, first LOD back out 25 meters, LOD 1 is shown, etc., etc. You can also import files from the original Space Engineers FBX files. You can grab that from, where is it? It's under, you can go to your SE, SDK, original content, models, cubes, small antenna.fbx, for example. You can import it and it'll show up eventually, although not very well because I have some weird things going on. So in order to set this thing up, usually if you create a new project, you have to make sure you actually are selecting the key materials that you want to use, if you want to use their materials in the first place. Sorry. So if you go into your shading tab, you go down here, press N, you'll notice there's another SEUT window. You need to collect items, presets, and materials. Those are just the basic ones you can do, but you can grab all of them. But these essentially allow you to import these materials so you can use them in your project. So yeah, so once you have that done, you can start modeling. So let me just go ahead and create a really quick model really quick. Okay, so I've got a nice model. It's a cylinder. Let's just scale the radius down a little bit, and we got kind of a tube right here. So I'll just make some nice, cute changes to it. Great, so we got that. So let's just go ahead and make this. Let's go ahead and typically the positive Y direction is going to be the direction it's going to be facing in. So let's actually not do that bevel really quick. So we can just call this the front facing side. A humbug. So there we go. We got a nice simple thing right there. And then if we go over here on this side, we can just call it quits here, I guess, if you really want to. Anyways, so typically it's a good idea to run a, to just make sure it's completely unwrapped. So I usually just go like 2.2 and stretch the UV, do not stretch the UV bounds, and that just gives it a nice default thing. But of course you can do it manually too if you really want to. And then let's go ahead and add a texture to this. So just go ahead and go edit mode and let's add a texture. It's just typically a good default one is just to grab type in colorable, and it's gonna be the fourth one down, and just paint metal colorable. And this is essentially the default that's used. A couple interesting things to note. Shade smooth is very much recommended. Not exactly sure why that's happening. Also important to note, you want to make sure the face orientation is oriented the correct way. So if this is red, for example, let me make a couple faces red. You press Alt-N and flip, or sorry, Alt-N and flip, and that'll make it red, and that just tells you that, oh, it's on the wrong side, so the texture won't show up properly. So you have to Alt-N and flip it, or one easy way is just to select all of them, Alt-N and recalculate outside. Yeah, you can access this little option under here and face orientation. Oh, right, so we got our basic model in the main collection here. So let's go ahead and add another little subpart to this. So let's go ahead and add mesh. Let's add a cube. Now let's go ahead and make this into like a conveyor port. So let's go ahead and move this to the back. Scale it in edit mode on the y-axis. Let's move it a little bit like that. Let's bevel them edges. I think I already did this in the tutorial, but it's just good to repeat things sometimes. Let's go ahead and select this face. Let's inset it a little bit, and let's extrude it inwards. Where's the extrusion? On the y-axis. I said the x-axis? No. Oh, you have to double click it because it likes to be weird. Okay, great. Anyway, so we got that. Let's give it some nice materials. Let's give it the conveyor yellow. It's a good thing for conveyors because it's a conveyor. I'll just do a quick Smart UV project here, and I'll just make sure nothing really happens. You should, if you look in your UV editor for all your stuff, you'll notice that it has to be nice. Like for example, if you have overlapping, if some of these are overlapping, like for example, if I have something like that, that'll throw an error. The textures won't render properly, and everything will look like black and super fuzzy. So just make sure that nothing's overlapping and everything is really nice in the UV editor. Yeah, so we've got some basic stuff here. Let's go ahead and give this a conveyor port. So the way we can do that is we can define this as a conveyor port by saying add, create empty, add highlight empty. We make sure it's selected when you actually click that though, and you can change highlight type to like conveyor or button or terminal. Got a bunch of different things here. Let's keep it in conveyor because it's a conveyor. So yeah, and then essentially what this little empty here does is this is the bounding box for where you point your mouse, and it'll allow you to select the empty. So usually it's a good idea to be very liberal with this. So you can go outside the bounding box a little bit too. So yeah, something like this is probably a good way to do it. But yeah, you have that right there. Yeah, so another good thing to do is if you want to work on mount points, for example, this one here, you can only really mount it in the back properly. So let's go ahead and make that something that actually happens. I could probably mount it in the front too. So just only do front, back, and front. So If you want to delete something, you just go like this. You can also resize these. And then let's go ahead and let's see, you and you, let's scale, yeah, all to like that. And let's go ahead and apply scale. Great. So yeah, there we go. We got some mount points, cute mount points too. And then once we're done, we just save everything, turn mount point mode off, and it goes away for us. Yeah, so another important thing to note is that in these collections, everything must always have must be parented to a single object. So here you must let's make everything parented on that. So let's select all this and parent it there. There we go. So if you don't have it like this, it'll throw an error. Yeah, if I wanted to add, if you don't have anything in the collisions, it'll add a default collision box, which is just the bounding box. But if you want to add something in, you just add a cube, usually. And then it won't look at the scales, it'll only look at the base data. So if you do actually use a scale in object mode, make sure you actually apply the scale later on. Another thing to note is that the bounding, these collision meshes, they must be inside the bounding box, otherwise it'll cause errors. So just make sure you're being aware of that. Then, yeah, so that's good. As it's scaled, I need to Control A and apply all transforms, which is good. Alright, so yeah, there we go. We got a collision mesh, we got some main stuff. Let's go ahead and add a build state really quick. So for build states, I'm just going to select hierarchy, Control C, copy to one selected object. Okay, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to select hierarchy again. Oh, what is going on? Oh, I'm in edit mode, no wonder. Okay, try selecting hierarchy, Control C, select it free, select type objects. Let's add a build state 1, and use Control V really quick. Alright, so let's go ahead and not look at you really quick. So we're only looking here, so we don't need this for that. And then one good way to do this is let's just go ahead and select all these. Let's I can just do mesh, clean up, decimate geometry, do something like that, be lazy, you know, the basics. Oh wait, sorry, my bad, this is a build state. I can just go ahead and, in that case then I can just change the material, honestly. Deconstruction. Come on, there we go. And then you just take this out in the construction phase. And there we go, we got nice build state. So one build state is good. If you want to make a LOD, we could do something very similar in here. So we could, let me just take this out really quick. We could do what I was just showing you. We can tab A, mesh, clean up, decimate geometry, mesh, clean up, decimate geometry, and let's make sure we're actually selecting something in decimate. This is probably a bit much, but let's just go ahead and keep this at 0.5. That's usually a good ratio. But yeah, so that looks good. Control Z, Control Shift C, Control Z, Control Shift C. Yeah, that's a pretty good thing. Let's go ahead and Smart UV project it really quick, just so we don't have any errors. Yeah, shading's ugly on here, but oh well. And we can probably do the same thing with this, but what geometry? Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, there we go. We've got nice LED 1. And we can just ignore the other two LEDs. Do you want to build the LED? I could probably add one just for the kicks of it. Let's go ahead and turn off this LED 1. And then what is this? This is going to be, make sure we view this, tab A, mesh, clean up, decimate geometry, and great. And there we go. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Alright. So yeah, so there we go. We got a bunch of different things on there. This is a pretty complete model. Let's go ahead and just let's put this in and see how it looks. So if you want to export this, the main thing to note is you just need to make sure this is set. So let's go over here. Let's go to our mods area. Here, mods. Let's go ahead and just copy this path so we don't have to deal with doing all the path pathing ourselves. Anyway, so Control B, enter, and let's create a new folder called Great. Okay, so we got in there. Let's go ahead and make a new folder called models. You must have a models directory somewhere in your file path, or at least your destination path, otherwise it'll throw an error. Except make sure your subpart ID actually is something descriptive. It's by default scene, which is not a very descriptive name, if I do say so myself. But yeah, once that's good, just make sure you have SPC checked for the first export, and you can fire in the hole. So export all scenes. 1 out of 1 scene successfully exported. Wonderful. So once you're there, we just have to do a little bit of coding just so we can test it and make sure it looks how we want it in the game. So if we go over here, we go to example fixed, and just open this up with code really quick. And this is just Visual Studio Code, very basic editor. I highly recommend you get it. Very low footprints. You can install on basically anything. So anyways, essentially what we have to do is we just have to go ahead and create a new folder called data, and then we just have to put the SBC in there. And that's literally all we have to do. And now we can test it. So let's go ahead and open up PC. And we have to make sure we actually include the thing. So if you look over here, it'll look like a folder. That's because it's local. But yeah, just select it, bring it over. This is this one. It's right here. It's good. Go ahead and say OK and load. And now we pray. I've got like 7 local things on here right now, so I'm just always super nervous it's never gonna load because there's so many things on there. So it's just like, it takes a little while, but you know it's gonna take a little while, but it's still super nerve-wracking. Should probably make a new mod test thing. Anyways, so let's go ahead and take a look where it is. So just search up, what do we call it? Fixed. Probably should have changed that. Oh wow. Just put this right here. And let's go see how it looks. Okay, so we can't mount it there, right? Because there's no mount point. We can mount it here, or we can mount it here. Ooh, what happened here? So this side looks good. This looks really good. Zoom out a little bit. We might be able to see that. We could probably also just check out the build state really quick. That's nice. But yeah, this is an issue. Let's go ahead and see why it is. Looks like the that's working properly. Let's go ahead and see over here. So we have Lenda. So typically when you have something like that, first off, that's going to be in the main model. So let's go and take a look at main. And second off, that usually means that your face orientation is not correct. And lo and behold, face orientation is not correct. So what we do, we just Control A, view, we can, sorry, Alt N, we could flip it all, but let's just recalculate outside. Ooh, look, it did it right for us. Do I see any red? No, it's, all we see is the outside of textures, which must be a good sign. So yay. So let's go ahead and save really quick, just so we save the progress. Saved, and Alt F4, and let's just go turn this off so it's not ugly blue all the time. Now, typically when you have textures, you have to completely reload SE, otherwise the textures don't load properly, or if you updated them, or don't usually load at all. But export all scenes, successfully exported, and let's go ahead and try looking at it again. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Did it work? No. Why is that? Why didn't it work? Should work. Well, that's odd. Seems like I should be suing someone for this. Did I ever export it? I think I exported it. Exported it. Let's go and take a look at this again then, I guess. Maybe I just didn't export it properly, didn't go there, and it was being weird. Take out this SBC really quick. Let's try. I'm just gonna try doing this one more time. Just because that usually works, honestly. Not lying. Let's try maybe doing the Smart UV project again on this because I inverted the normals. Let's check normals again. Whoa, that looks good. Okay, export all sets. This is your last chance, Mr. Elephant. Explore all scenes again. And actually, I can still delete temp files really quick. I want to make sure it's actually exporting correctly. So if you go over here, if you don't delete temp files, give you a bunch of these things right over here. So you can have, let's see what I say, it's a .log. And those are just a couple things on there. Honestly, it looks like it's working properly. I don't see any weird things going on. Kind of hard to see to have. Let's get 2 logs, 3 logs. Oh, I'm gonna wager that this time it worked. I know that I actually exported this time. But yeah, should work. Hint, hint, work, please. How dare you? I trusted you. I let you into my home. And this is how you repay me? I don't like you anymore. Honestly, I've got no bloody idea why this is happening right now. Oh, I know exactly what's going on. If you look at here, let me go ahead and turn the quality of the high. This should work properly. The things is that we're looking at inverted normals on one of the LOD models. Keep in mind that the LOD models, usually the first one is used automatically by default unless model quality high is being used. I don't know why it is. Probably not the best, but that's what happens. So let's go ahead and fix that. So let's take a look at LOD 1, and lo and behold, so that was LOD 1, and then we'll build state 1, looks good, collision model looks fine, VSLD looks fine, anything else I got here? Yeah, looks like everything's good. So now that should work. Let me go save this really quick. I'm gonna alt F4. I'm gonna export all scenes. And this time it will work. Oop, can't do it yet. Boop, boop, boop. That looks good. Zoom out a little bit. Looks like it's fine. Let's turn down textures to medium. Yeah, looks good. So yeah, look at that. Pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty.